Public Schools. Tonight, the school board approved the contract of Matthew Ray, its new superintendent. The vote was supposed to happen about a week and a half ago, but was postponed until tonight. The current agreement would give Ray a base salary of just over $336,000. The contract takes effect July 1st and runs through the end of 2026-2027. Ray has been serving as the interim superintendent for OPS since the departure of Dr. Cheryl Logan last spring.